Hello, Simon here from Crafted Bricks. In this video, we're going to take a comprehensive look at this beautiful 1:8 scale Master Series V12 Hypercar designed by Swanji and produced by CaDa. I'll take you through what you get in the box, show you and talk about the key build stages, showcase the finished model and go over its functions, and finally I'll share my review thoughts with you. And if you like what you see in this video and you want to purchase this model to build for yourself, you most certainly can. I've put a link in the description of this video that will take you directly to CaDa's web store where you can buy the model. And if you use this link, you'll get 10% off your order. Alternatively, you can use the coupon code that I've also put in the description of the video to get 10% off any order that you place on CaDa's web store. Okay, let's jump straight into the unboxing section of the video. The box is huge, given this is a very large set on par with LEGO's lineup of large 1:8 scale Technic supercars. On the front, we have a lovely embossed image of the hypercar, and if I flip the box over, we can see there are more images on the rear of the box, highlighting the model's various play functions. At the bottom, we can see the power function type element shown. This model is motorized and is remote controllable. Inside the box, all of the part packages are grouped and contained in several large numbered boxes, and included, of course, are the instruction manuals and sticker sheets. Taking a closer look at the instruction manuals, there are two of these, and they are printed on good quality stock and feel and look equivalent to the LEGO instructions that we are used to. On the first page of instruction booklet number 1, there is a foreword from the designer, and I want to take a pause to read this out, as this highlights why I support CaDa, their products, and what they're doing. My name is Swanji, and I'm a high school student from Korea, also known as JMT. From an early age, I've been imagining building brick structures, trying to understand how they work in reality, and it has become one of my favorite hobbies. Building a supercar out of building bricks is like solving an impossible puzzle. There are so many aspects to the design. Not only do you need to consider how it will function, but also how all of the parts work together. And that is why supercars are my favorite theme, and I'm very excited to share my experience with other brick hobbyists. I hope you will enjoy building my set. Now, how cool is that? Can you imagine if you were back in high school and had one of your LEGO designs picked up and produced as a set by a company like CaDa? That would be amazing at any age, I think. So what I'm getting at here is that with this set and many of the other sets that CaDa produce, we as LEGO hobbyists get to build and experience highly detailed and well-crafted models as designed by passionate and talented mock designers like Swan at an affordable price. And while I know my channel is primarily about building and modifying LEGO models, I'm also an advocate for mock designers and the custom LEGO model building community. And so with CaDa actively producing sets in collaboration with talented mock designers, this is a company that I support. Let me continue on to talk about the instruction manuals. In booklet number 1, there is some starting information about the power function elements and use of the building assistance tool. But then if I flip forward, there's an important page here that shows the key build stages for the model and how the part boxes correlate to those stages. And I'm going to take you through each of these build stages shortly. And then in terms of the building steps themselves and the instruction manuals, they are all well laid out, clear and concise. You will notice though that if you decide to buy and build this model too, that CaDa's instructions pack a lot more build steps in per page versus what you may be used to with LEGO instructions. I personally like this much denser instruction style as it makes the building experience a little bit more challenging and involved. So if you are looking for a building challenge, this is definitely a set to consider, and I'll talk about this more later on in the video. There is an additional pamphlet with information on how to set up the wireless remote control receiver and USB chargeable battery box. And there is a smaller second pamphlet indicating that the new buggy motors included in this set are only forwards compatible with the newer battery boxes produced by CaDa. As for the sticker sheets, there are 2 of these. The quality is similar, but not quite as good as LEGO stickers. I'm not going to be applying any of the external stickers to the model, as I want to build this supercar sticker-free so that it can sit harmoniously on display with my other LEGO 1:8 scale supercars. Let's move on to the build stages. Build stage 1 uses the parts from box number 1, so this is nice and easy. You'll find that inside each box there are several numbered part bags, and I note that the presentation and packaging of this set overall is easily on par with similar LEGO sets. The build of the first stage of the model is very straightforward. There's a rear axle assembly housing a differential, as we would expect. There are some interesting techniques used for the rear suspension setup, and I really love the inclusion of chromed elements for the exhaust of the model. They really do pop. The buggy motors that will drive the model are fully integrated into the chassis, and I like that with their black coloured housing, both motors are inconspicuous and are quite concealed. I note also that to my eye, part quality seems very good. In fact, I feel part finish quality has significantly improved versus my last experience with CaDa's parts, which is when I built the Humvee model. Here, for this build, only a handful of parts exhibited some small scratches or scuff marks, with most parts being perfect and flawless. Build Stage 2 uses parts from box number 2, which contains parts bags labelled 2 and 3. And in this stage, the level of technical complexity and involvement really ramped up. There is an amazing attention to detail already coming through at this build stage, and I'm starting to feel very impressed with this model. In this stage, I've added the front axle assembly, and you'll note there is a servo motor included that will provide remote-controlled front-wheel steering. The seats in bright red look spectacular and really pop. The mid-mounted engine behind the cabin also looks great with the red housing, and I also particularly liked it that the engine pistons and camshaft are built with Technic elements versus the usual cylinder and piston rod molded pieces we normally see in Technic cars. The suspension at the rear has been completed, and once again I'm impressed with the chromed parts and evident beautiful detailing in this area. The underside of the model is also looking very strong and robust, and noticeably very clean and complete. I don't, for example, see any weird coloured elements or large voids on the underside of the model that we would typically see on the underside of LEGO designed similar supercar models. And finally, the void on this side of the model will house the battery box. I have two key observations to share with you at this stage of the build. If you build this model, a slow and steady approach to the build will serve you best, as it is a build where you will need to pay careful attention to each and every build step so as not to make mistakes that may hurt you later on. For example, there are a lot of build steps where you'll be required to build complex and dense structures that are heavily cross-braced to provide support for the bodywork that will be added during later build stages. Mistakes made here at this early stage in the build will be very difficult to correct later on. And it was, however, at this build stage that I noticed an issue with this set. It seems that for my particular set, the 2L pin with axle and 1L pin with axle parts, as I'm showing you here, have a production run molding issue. These pins don't seem to have as strong of a clutch force as needed. They sometimes, but not always, seem to be slightly loose. All of the other types of pins seem a-okay though. And when I compared these two pins to the same pins in my Humvee set, the Humvee parts have no issue. So I assume I've just got a run of pins in my Hypercar set that may have suffered a production issue like excess part shrinkage on cooling after molding. I was able to use a combination of CaDa's pins plus LEGO equivalent pins for my build, but if for some reason you come across this same issue with your set, I have reached out to CaDa about this issue, and I'll speak about how to address it later on in the video. But I don't want this minor issue to put you off buying and building this set, due to the heavy amount of element cross-linking and bracing that Swan has baked into his design. Even with this issue, the finished model is extremely strong and robust. It's just something that I felt was important to call out in the video. Build Stage 3 using parts bags 4, 5 and 6 from box number 3 is where I felt this model went from feeling like a regular but complex Technic style car build to something truly next level. The fit and finish of each and every section of this model is something wondrous to behold. In the next stage of the build, the bodywork for the front of the model and roof will be added, but already you can see that with the interesting shape of the front lip of the model, this is all going to look great. The front axle assembly is now complete and is extremely strong, dense and well crafted. The front suspension is also stiff and has an interesting opposing spring design. And look how clean and finished this section here is. There's not an offending blue pin or off-color scheme part in sight. Swan's clever use and fit of both Technic and system parts to achieve this is very impressive. The same applies to the sides of the model and the shaping and clean look of the sidewall areas. This well-crafted design continues up to the superb-looking air intakes, And then the bodywork at the rear is starting to take shape and looks excellent. Tilting the model up, you can see the beautiful details of the dashboard, again, all exhibiting a very finished, detailed, and clean look. At the rear of the model, we can see, once again, all of these finished, beautiful details, and this center brace with the two supports for the rear air spoiler or wing being added. At this stage of the build, you'll also add a height-adjustable rear air spoiler that I will demonstrate later on in the video. The model is very heavy and somewhat awkward to handle, but I'll flip it on its side to give you a look from this angle. And then flipping the model over to show you the underside, you can get an appreciation of just how solid and well constructed this thing is. It's certainly a beast. By the way, as I was watching this footage back, I realized that one of the benefits of filming all of these build stages and showing you build progress from an overhead view is that it's easy for me to show you the internal details of the model that may be hard to show you once the model is complete. So I hope you're enjoying taking in all the details of the model as I complete and show the results of each build stage. And with the parts from bags 7 and 8 from box number 4, I'm able to complete the model. And it's nothing short of spectacular. In total, this took me 6 nights of building to complete. It is a lengthy and challenging build. I actually have very sore fingers as a result of the 20+ hours of building, but as you can see, my efforts have been rewarded. Now I'm going to switch views shortly to give you a better view of the finished model, but I thought while I have my camera set up in this overhead view, I'll show you two things. The first is the doors hinge up easily to reveal the cabin of the model. And the second is that you can remove one of the panel assemblies from the side of the model to reveal the USB chargeable battery box. Pressing the center button turns the battery box on, and it will automatically connect to the handheld controller if that is powered on too. Let's take a closer look. When I finished this model, I remember just sitting back and gawping at it for about 15 minutes. To say this is a good-looking supercar model is an understatement. I think it is simply stunning, and I hope seeing this model is putting a smile on your face too. Let's go over the functions. There actually aren't many. To me, this has been designed to be a display model versus something that you play with. I've already shown you in the overhead view that the doors can be opened up. I'll show you what that looks like in this view as well. Then there are a set of gears on the rear of the model that extend and retract these actuators to allow you to lower and raise the rear air diffuser. In terms of this being a motorized and remote controllable model, I'm only going to show you this in action in my studio in a static way and not outdoors or around the house. The reason for this is that I want to keep this as a pristine display piece for my collection. If you want to see this model in action, I've put a link in the description of my video here to another YouTuber's video where he runs the model outdoors to test it. So I recommend you check that video out if this is a model you plan to buy and play with. But as you can see, the car can be powered to drive forwards and backwards. And I do note that the new buggy motors from CaDa are obviously very powerful. So good job to CaDa for designing a new and improved motor and part for these types of models. And the steering works as expected as well. And finally, let's take a look at this hypercar side by side with LEGO's 1/8 scale Porsche and Bugatti. For noting, I've yet to build my Lamborghini Sian, and I haven't yet bought the Ferrari Daytona, but I do intend to. But as you can see, the hypercar sits very well with these two models, and I think if you're into the LEGO lineup of supercars, you're going to love this hypercar model from CaDa. In terms of my review, I'm going to keep this very simple and go over the pros, the cons of the model, and then talk about who I think this set is best suited to. In terms of pros, I think the design and the attention to detail for this set is simply outstanding. I would say this is the best technical car model that I've built to date. I think it looks superb, and just as I mentioned, that attention to detail and the finish quality is really exemplary. I'm very impressed with this, and probably, as you can tell, extremely happy with it. I also really like it, as you saw earlier in the video, that this car sits so well with LEGO's official lineup of supercar models. To me, I can put this model on display with those LEGO official supercar models, and it just integrates with them seamlessly. You would not know this is not a LEGO set. The quality is right up there with those sets. And in terms of the design being amazing, it just looks fantastic and it works really well. So if you're a fan of those LEGO sets, this is definitely a set that you should consider. I'm also really impressed with the quality of CaDa's parts in terms of the technical elements. So all these panels, the different sort of beams and lift arms and so on. I think the quality has much improved since my last experience with a CaDa set, which was for the Humvee model. Don't get me wrong, I really like that Humvee model. It was a beautiful technical type model, but I did note quite a lot of scratches and issues with the different panels used for the bodywork of that model. I don't have any of those issues with this particular set, so the quality has dramatically increased. I also really enjoyed the complex and lengthy and challenging build experience. Although it was kind of a hard and challenging experience, it was very rewarding. And I think even experienced Technic builders will marvel at some of the different techniques and methods the designer has used to construct this model and to get all the unique shapes of this hypercar to come together. There are a few cons with this model. They're sort of small, I guess, or minor. The first is that some of the system parts that are used in this model, there aren't too many. And by system parts, I mean sort of sloped elements or plates or tiles. Some of those parts exhibit some minor cosmetic issues and maybe some minor scrape marks or different color issues. But it's really not that bad. It's only really noticeable as you're sort of handling the parts up close. Once you've got this all assembled together, you don't see any of those issues at all. And although I didn't apply the stickers, and I think it's probably best you don't, but of course it's going to be your choice if you decide to buy and build this model, I felt the sticker quality wasn't quite on the same level as what we expect from, or what we get from Lego stickers. And finally, I do have to mention the issue with the 2L pin with axle and 1L with pin axle parts. Unfortunately, for many of those parts, not all, sometimes the friction and the clutch power just wasn't quite there. So what I found I was doing was often replacing those pins with their equivalent in Lego parts. Now, I don't think this issue is endemic to CaDa's sets. As I mentioned sort of earlier in the video, I didn't have this issue with the Humvee model. So there are two options if you do have this issue yourself. The first is to do like I did and replace those parts with Lego equivalent parts. Those parts are very easy to find on Bricklink and are quite affordable and quite cheap. The second is I did reach out to CaDa and they do offer post-sale support to customers. So if you bought this set or another set from their web store, they will send you replacement parts for free if you do have an issue. And I'll put a link to their customer support page in the description of the video. And finally, I'd like to comment on who I think this set is suited to and also not suited to. If you do not like builds that take a long time to complete, that you have to sort of have quite an investment of time involved and you've got to complete over a number of build sessions, then I don't think this CaDa Hypercar set is going to be for you. And also, if you're very new to building Technic models, I'd probably say pass on this set until you've built up a little bit more experience with building technical models. This is certainly a very advanced build that's going to require quite a lot of patience and quite a bit of skill, I think, in terms of building it. On the other hand, if you love builds that take a long time to complete, but are also very rewarding in the time that you put in, then I think you're really going to enjoy the heck out of this CaDa Hypercar set. And also, if you are an experienced builder and you built one or several of Lego's official 1:8 scale supercars, this is definitely a set you need to add to your lineup of supercars and have in your collection. And on that note, if you want to purchase this set, I put a link in the description of the video for where you can do that on CaDa's web store. That's actually all for this video. If you have any comments or questions about the model or comments about the video itself, please leave me a comment. I really love reading your comments. And if you have a question, I will certainly get back to you. Also, if you enjoyed the video and you've seen this video and maybe a few of the other videos on my channel and you've not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'd really love to have you on board. I'm still trying to grow the channel. That's all from me for this video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.